YouTube burnout feels worse than TikTok or Instagram burnout. Because YouTube is the only platform where what you're building actually compounds. And compounding takes time, which means the exhaustion you're feeling now is from investing in results you won't see for months. And that delayed gratification is what breaks people. Have you ever spent a full week making a YouTube video? So scripting, filming, editing, making the thumbnail, rewriting the title like 15 times, and then posted it and it got 80 views? Because if you have, you know that feeling I'm talking about. That specific type of exhaustion that's not just I worked hard, it's more like I worked hard and it didn't matter and now I don't know if I should keep doing this. And that feeling is what makes YouTube burnout different from TikTok or Instagram burnout. It's not just about the hours you put in, it's about the psychological weight of investing so much and not knowing if any of it's going to pay off. The video that gets 80 views today could get 8,000 views 6 months from now. Because YouTube is the only platform where your old content keeps working for you. You have to survive the waiting period first, and that's what we need to talk about. So I want to break down exactly why YouTube hits different, why it burns you out in ways that cut deeper than short-form platforms, and what you can do to make it sustainable while you're waiting for the compounding to kick in. Before we get into this, if you're feeling burned out right now and you're not totally sure why, like you can't pinpoint whether it's the algorithm or the workload or just creative exhaustion, I made a free quiz that'll help you figure out exactly what type of burnout you're dealing with right now. It takes about 2 minutes and it's down in the pinned comment. At the end, you will get a personalized breakdown of what's actually draining you and what to do about it. So if you're watching this and thinking, yeah, I'm tired, but I don't know why, pause right now, take the quiz, and then come back. It'll make the rest of this video way more useful because you know which parts apply to you specifically. Let's talk about why YouTube exhaustion is its own thing. Here's the thing about TikTok and Instagram burnout. It's exhausting because you're constantly running. You're constantly posting, you're constantly feeding this machine that never stops asking for more content. And yeah, that wears you down over time, but it's a surface level exhaustion. The kind where you're tired from moving fast, but you're not carrying anything particularly heavy. You post something, it lives for 24 hours, it dies, and then you move on to the next thing without really thinking about it too much. YouTube burnout feels completely different. And I think the best way I can describe it is that every video you make on YouTube feels like you're adding weight to a backpack that you're carrying uphill, and the hill never ends. And you never get to put the backpack down. Because a TikTok takes maybe an hour to make. You film it on your phone, edit in CapCut, throw it up, and whether it gets 500 or 50,000 views, you're done with it and moving on to the next one. But a YouTube video takes days, sometimes a full week, if you're doing it right. You have to script it, film it with proper lighting and audio, edit it for retention, make a thumbnail that doesn't look like garbage, rewrite the title 15 times because you're not sure if it's clickable enough. And then, after all that work, you upload it and wait to see if anyone actually cares. And here's the part that really breaks people. When you spend that much time on something and it only gets 80 views, it doesn't just feel like the video failed, it feels like you failed. Like you wasted a week of your life on something that nobody wanted. And the psychological weight is so much heavier than anything you feel on TikTok. Because on TikTok, if something flops, you just shrug it off and make another one. But on YouTube, a flop feels personal. Because you didn't just throw something together, you actually tried. You put real effort into it. And when nobody's watching it, the question that creeps into your head is, what's wrong with me? And the worst part is that you can't even tell if the video failed because it was bad or because YouTube's algorithm just decided not to show it to anyone. So you're sitting there in this limbo of uncertainty, wondering if you need to completely change your approach or if you just need to be more patient. And that not knowing is what slowly grinds you down over time. I think another reason YouTube burnout hits so much harder is because it feels like the stakes are higher in a way that's hard to explain to people who haven't done both platforms. On TikTok, one bad video genuinely doesn't matter. You could post something that gets 12 views and the algorithm will still give your next video a fair shot because TikTok treats every video as its own standalone thing and doesn't really care about your history. On YouTube, and I don't know if this is actually true or if it's just in our heads, but it feels like you post 3 videos in a row that don't perform and YouTube starts to think your channel isn't worth promoting. And then you're stuck in this hole where even your good videos don't get seen because the algorithm has already decided you're not a priority. Whether or not that's technically accurate doesn't really matter because the feeling is real. And the feeling is that every video you post is this high stakes bet where if it doesn't work, you're not just losing one video, you're potentially damaging your entire channel's momentum. So you end up putting this enormous pressure on yourself to make every video perfect, which makes the process even more exhausting, which makes burnout even more likely, and it becomes this vicious cycle where you're too tired to make good videos, but you're too scared of failing to take a break. And then there's the waiting. On TikTok, you know within a few hours whether something worked. You get that immediate feedback loop that tells you, yes, this was good, or no, try something else. You can iterate quickly. YouTube makes you wait for weeks, sometimes months. And during this entire waiting period, you're just sitting there checking YouTube Studio every few hours, watching the view count tick up by 3 or 4 views at a time, wondering if this is the moment it's going to take off or if it's already dead and you just don't know it yet. I've absolutely done this. I post a video and for the first 3 days I'm checking the analytics constantly. And every time I see that the views have barely moved, I feel this little spike of panic. Like, oh no, it's not working. What did I do wrong? Should I change the thumbnail? Should I rewrite the title? And I'm making all these decisions from a place of anxiety instead of strategy. And that constant low-level anxiety, that feeling of waiting for something that might never come, that's what burns you out on YouTube in a way that's different from the fast-paced exhaustion of TikTok. Because TikTok exhausts your body, but YouTube exhausts your mind. Okay, so there's one more layer to this that I think hits the deepest. And it's something I don't hear people talk about very much. But I've felt it, and I think a lot of YouTube creators feel it too. YouTube burnout messes with your sense of self in a way that other platforms don't. And the reason is that on TikTok, you're just posting. You're not really building an identity around it. You're not thinking, I'm a TikToker. You're just someone who posts videos sometimes, and if it doesn't work out, whatever, it was just this one thing you tried. But on YouTube, you're not just posting videos, you're building a channel. You're building a brand or your career. You're building this thing that feels like it represents who you are as a creator. And because of that, when your channel isn't growing, it starts to feel like you're not growing, like you're stuck or failing or just not good enough. I felt that really intensely when I was first starting with YouTube. I had this whole background in video production, even a degree in film and television. I worked on cruise ships for 5 years, filming and editing TV and film content every single day. So when I started a YouTube channel, I thought, okay, I'm good at video, this should work. And when it didn't work right away, I started questioning everything. Like, maybe I'm not actually good at this. Maybe I just got lucky on the cruise ships because I had a captive audience. Maybe I don't actually understand what makes good content. And maybe I'm just average. And that thought is genuinely one of the most demoralizing things I've ever felt. Because YouTube doesn't just test your skills, It tests your belief in yourself. And every video that doesn't perform feels like evidence that you're not good enough. Even though, logically, you know that a video not getting views doesn't mean you're bad. It just means YouTube didn't show it to enough people, or the title didn't hook them, or 100 other variables that have nothing to do with your actual talent. But when you're tired and frustrated and you've been grinding for months with nothing to show for, logic doesn't really help. You just feel like you're failing. And that feeling starts to seep into everything else. Eventually, you start to resent YouTube. And then you start to resent the whole process of creating, which is the saddest part, because you probably started this because you love making videos. And I think that's the core of why YouTube burnout hits so much harder than TikTok burnout. It's not just that YouTube takes more time or more effort. It's that YouTube makes you invest more of yourself, more of your identity, more of your belief that you can do this. And when it doesn't work, it doesn't just feel like a failed video. It feels like a failed version of who you thought you were. So if YouTube is this much harder, if it burns you out in ways that cut deeper than other platforms, why even bother doing it? And honestly, the reason is pretty simple. YouTube is the only platform where the work you do today still matters a year from now. And that compounding effect is what makes everything else worth it, even when it's hard. That TikTok you posted yesterday, it's already dead. It got its 24 hours of visibility, and now it's buried under thousands of other videos, and no one's ever going to see it again unless they specifically go looking for it. But that YouTube video you posted 6 months ago is still getting views every single day, still showing up in search results, still being recommended to people, and still working for you even though you're not actively doing anything to promote it anymore. And that difference is huge, because it means that every video you make on YouTube is an asset that keeps paying dividends, whereas everything you make on TikTok is just kind of temporary. It exists for a moment and then it's gone. The other big reason YouTube is worth it is that you can actually build something that belongs to you. You can link your email list, you can link your course, you can link to your website. And YouTube doesn't hide those links or punish you for sending people away from the platform the way Instagram and TikTok do. You're not just building an audience that lives on YouTube and disappears if YouTube changes the algorithm tomorrow. You're building a list of people who actually want to hear from you. That owned audience is what turns a content creator into an actual business instead of just someone who's dependent on whatever platform happens to be showing their stuff this week. But here's the catch, and this is really important. YouTube is only sustainable if you stop treating it like TikTok, if you stop trying to post every single day and chasing trends and measuring success by how quickly things blow up. Because if you approach YouTube with a TikTok mindset, you will burn out. That's just a guarantee. But if you batch your filming, so you're not constantly in production mode, if you focus on making videos that'll still be relevant in 6 months instead of writing whatever's trending this week, if you stop checking your analytics every hour and just check them once a week, so you can actually learn something instead of just feeding your anxiety, then YouTube becomes the most sustainable platform. I film 4 videos in one day, and that's my content for the month. I don't check YouTube Studio obsessively anymore, because I realized it was just making me more anxious without actually helping me improve anything. And I focus on making evergreen content that's going to work for years instead of days. And that shift from short-term thinking to long-term thinking is what's made YouTube feel sustainable instead of suffocating. Because the burnout doesn't come from the work itself. It comes from approaching the work in a way that's completely unsustainable. And once you fix the approach, the platform that felt impossible starts to feel like the smartest bet you ever made. So yeah, YouTube burnout hits harder than TikTok burnout because YouTube demands more time, more patience, more of yourself. And when it doesn't work immediately, it makes you question things about yourself that go deeper than just whether you made a good video. But it's also the only platform where the hard work actually compounds, where you can build something that lasts and something you actually own. And if you're willing to approach it in a sustainable way instead of trying to treat it like TikTok, it's the platform that'll actually change your life instead of just keeping you busy. So if you're feeling burned out right now and you're not totally sure why, take that quiz I mentioned in the beginning. It'll help you figure out if it's creative burnout or financial stress or algorithm anxiety or something else entirely. And it'll point you toward what to do about it. Link is in the pinned comment or in the description. Takes about 2 minutes and we see us in the next video.